You know, when Jim Kelly was an NFL quarterback, especially for the Buffalo Bills, he made certain mistakes that if he could bring it back, he would. And his nephew did that on the weekend. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Montreal Alouettes are heading back to the Grey Cup against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in an unprecedented victory for the franchise. We haven't made the Super Bowl. Canadian slip, the Grey Cup, our Super Bowl, in 13 years. Now, according to TSN's report in the game, Kebya Ento, the Montreal Alouettes defense, turned Chad Kelly's first playoff start into a nightmare. The nephew of Jim Kelly was intercepted by Ento and Marc-Antoine Dequoy as he returned pick six for touchdowns as Montreal forced 9 turnovers to stun the Argos 38-7 in the East Division final on Saturday, November 11th. The 9 turnovers, which resulted in 21 points, included 4 interceptions by Kelly, the East Division's outstanding player nominee. Montreal also stopped Kelly twice in short yardage situations and recovered a Kelly fumble. 4 times Toronto turned the ball over on downs. Now, they entered the game Grey Cup champions and Grey Cup favorites for 2023 as there were 16-2 in the regular season. Now, according to Ento, if you have to win or lose a game, we understand we want it on us, the defense. Every time we step on the field, we understand it's another opportunity to take the ball away. All we want to do is get the ball back for our offense. Montreal did that well in the third quarter, intercepting Kelly 3 times. Ento returned the last one 22 yards for the TT at 9:13 to put Montreal ahead 24-3. Now, both teams were well in the game by the start of the third quarter, but again, usually the third quarter of the CFL determines the tail. Now, Kelly finished 21 of 36 passing for 246 yards and 1 touchdown with 4 picks, while rushing 8 times for 62 yards. Although Toronto had more first downs, 2015, and net yards, 385 to 197, Montreal won the turnover battle in the game by a decided 9-1 margin. You can't turn the ball over as many times as we did on offense, Kelly said softly when interviewed. Obviously, I made it a lot harder in the defense than it should have been, but this loss is on me. I take full responsibility of throwing those mistakes out there, playing careless with the football, trying to do too much. Now, if you look at the interceptions, the good intentions were there, but you throw across field in the CFL, you better make sure that it's where you wanted to go. Toronto's offense began smartly, driving to the Montreal 7-yard line. However, Dequoy's 101-yard TD return at 3:03 of the first opened the scoring. One of the things I was trying to tell Chad going to the game was he didn't have to be a superhero. Toronto head coach Ryan Dinwiddie said, sometimes we got to let plays die, and unfortunately, we had the 2 pick-sixes that really changed the game. Kelly is still a young quarterback. We feel that Chad is going to give us a chance to get back here next year. The loss definitely doesn't fall on his shoulders. Later in the third, the BMO field gathering at 26,620, the largest crowd for an Argos game since he moved there in 2016, booed the offense off the field. No question it hurts more after a 16-win campaign, Dinwiddie said. After the season we had and we were playing in front of our crowd, we're pretty embarrassed with the performance we gave to the city of Toronto. I wish we had a better showing for them. Now, Montreal advanced to his first Grey Cup since winning 2 straight titles in 09 and 10. Of course, one of those was the infamous too many men in the field mistake by Saskatchewan that would have negated a field goal, but we kicked it again and the Alouettes won. Now, the Alouettes will meet again the Blue Bombers next weekend, which is this weekend coming, at Tim Hortons Field. Winnipeg dispatched the BC Lions 24-13 in the West Division final to advance their first ever Grey Cup showdown versus Montreal. The moniker of a great defense is being able to stop people when you need to, Montreal head coach Jason Maas said. Down the stretch, we needed to win games to be in the position we are, and each and every week they came up big. This is the biggest stage we played on all year, and they played at their absolute peak. Someone asked me before the game what I thought was going to be the number one predictor of an outcome, and I said turnover margin. I believe that. Again, offense may win, but defense will take the game away from the offense. Cameron Duke's 1-yard TD run at 4:43 of the fourth pulled Toronto to 24-10, but James Letcher Jr. returning his suing kickoff 105 yards for the touchdown, his third return score of the season at 5:19. Kelly then found Devaris Daniels on a 64-yard TD strike at 6:43 to cut Montreal's lead to 31-17. Now, Montreal's defense didn't allow a touchdown in last weekend's 27-12 East Division semi-win over the Tiger Cats. The Alouettes were 0-3 against Toronto in the regular season, but haven't lost since the 23-20 setback to the Argos on September 15th, a win streak that now has reached 7 games. Kelly enjoyed a record-setting 23 campaign, his first as Toronto starter. He won 15 of 16 starts in guiding the Argos to a franchise-best 16-2 record, which also tied the single-season league mark for wins. Now in August, Kelly signed a huge 3-year $1.865 million extension that made him the association's highest-paid player. Now Edmonton went 16-2 but lost in the West Division final to Saskatchewan, who went on to win the Grey Cup in that one of the greatest Grey Cups of all time. Kelly's 93.8 win percentage was the best ever by a player who had at least 14 starts. He completed 273 to 94 passes, 68.5%, for 41.23 yards with 23 TDs and 12 interceptions, while running for 248 yards and 8 TDs, tied for second most in the CFL. Now, Toronto's offense also led the CFL in fewest turnovers with 27, and was tied for fewest interceptions with 15. The Argos entered Saturday's game sporting a 9-0 home record. One win, of course, came in Halifax, and 10-0 within the East Division. Tyler Sneed and Justin Antwi had Montreal's other touchdowns. David Cote added 5 converts and a field goal. Toronto's Boris Bede booted 2 converts and a field goal. Now, Cody Fajardo's 8-yard TD pass to Sneed at 15-13 of the third, despite tight coverage from Toronto safety Royce Mechie, staked Montreal to a 17-3 advantage. It allowed Sean Oakman's unnecessary roughness penalty and a Cote field goal that gave the Owls first down to Toronto's 7. The touchdown was set up by Reggie Stubberfield's interception. Montreal led 10-3 at halftime thanks to his defense, which accounted for his lone TD. It also stopped Kelly twice on third down, despite Dukes usually being Toronto's short yardage quarterback. And although Toronto continually enjoyed great field position and accumulated 174 net yards, the offense gave the ball away 4 times, on downs twice, an interception, and a fumble. Toronto's defense did its part with 5 first-half sacks, 3 by Oakman, 2 by Reggie Barlow, and an interception. The unit, who had a CFL high 68 sacks on the year, finished with 7 on Saturday. Now, the main reason why Toronto probably lost the game, it comes down to momentum. Sure, they were behind in the first half, but Kelly has always been a strong quarterback in the second half with all those victories. I think what happened, Toronto really didn't take Montreal seriously. I know that sounds kind of weird, but Montreal had not lost literally in almost 2 months. So entering the game in a very tough win over Hamilton the week before, it's just that momentum is a bitch goddess. Toronto's had it for most of 22 season into 23. Kelly, who was a college standout, got into some problems, personal and job problems, but really came back in the last 2 years to meet his potential. This is not the end for Kelly. If he keeps on, I was keeping on, because I've seen major quarterbacks in the CFL just as good as him lose in the big games. It happens, especially Edmonton losing all those games in the 70s before he straightened it out in the late 70s, early 80s with the 5 straight under Warren Moon. So, ladies and gentlemen, to our U.S. fans, yes, there will be I consider the Canadian World Championship of Football next week. Green Day is playing at the half, so if you're a Green Day fan, check that out. Nothing better than a Grey Cup game with a couple of cold beers and a pot of coffee and a pizza to watch around, sit around with your friends. I know Montreal in the Grey Cup is a shock to a lot of people because the Calvillo era, the decade of the 2000s really belonged to us. The 2002 onward, but my God, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people thought Kelly was going to win that game, and just 3 bad passes at a wrong place, wrong time. It's a 21-point shift, as we say, and there's what you have. And usually when you give up 2 pick 6 in the game, very rarely do you win that contest. That's a dagger in the heart. As we say in the Hammer universe, the stake to the bloodsucker's heart. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here, we're at our sports podcast, especially in the CFL. Let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. If you want to find more about the Montreal Alouettes legacy, we have numerous podcasts on the channel talking about Sonny Wade and Vince Ferragamo, the '77 Ice Bowl, where Don Sweet, got so many points. Ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be a Montreal Alouettes fan. It just reminded me of the old days where, at one point, the Montreal Alouettes were the most popular football team in Canada. Bigger than the 49ers, bigger than the Steelers, bigger than the Cowboys. They were that big. In the mid-1970s, it was glorious to be an Alouettes fan. 58 to 68,000 fans at Olympic Stadium. It was quite the decade. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, don't mention Ferragamo again because he's bad luck for us. So keep Ferragamo out of your mind, especially with the LA fans. Thanks for listening. Bye.